Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Okay, welcome everyone. Let me just make an adjustment to our audio here. Great to have everybody here. Just a housekeeping item right off the top. As I've been saying for about a week or so, Rumble Channel 2 is undergoing changes. I was trying something different with the live streaming setup tonight. I'm not sure if we are running on Rumble Channel 2 because the new streaming setup indicates we are, but when I go and check the channel, it doesn't look like we are at all. So my apologies to anybody trying to watch on Rumble Channel 2 if you're not seeing us tonight. I'm going to check on Rumble Channel 1 and see if we're actually running there. Are we? Yes, we are running on Channel 1. So we're in good shape. And I think we're running to all other platforms. The second Rumble Maverick News channel. Not sure what's going on. I see the feed going out, but when I go to check the actual link, it doesn't look like it is. Is it or not? Yeah, no, it's not running. And that's a Rumble problem because we're using their streaming system to send the signal out. So I don't know. We'll deal with it tomorrow. Let's see if we can get it running properly. Now, we have a lot of other ground to cover tonight because Carney, Prime Minister, Canada, over in Poland, meeting with Prime Minister Donald Tusk. He's on a whirlwind tour of Europe trying to solidify solidarity, I guess, among European nations and Canada and NATO members as well, I think. Also tonight, Snoop Dogg making waves. He made some comments on a program about the Lightyear movie and a scene in it in which you have a same-sex couple, two women, with a baby. And what he said is setting the internet on fire, so we'll dip into that tonight as well. What else do we have? Also, Alberta, oil-rich and maybe soon electricity-rich because of investments in nuclear energy. The Premier of Alberta commenting on that today. And in addition to all of that, we also have, what else? We have, oh yes, Felicia from Germany. She recently did, she's a very popular live streamer, recently did a survey. She lives in the States, born in Germany. She surveyed people in Germany to see how they perceive the United States today. What she found out in her informal, but I think valid survey was very concerning to her, and we'll tell you why when we come back on the other side of this.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech. Free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
All right, so Prime Minister Mark Carney taking a Canadian message to Poland today. He is trying to strengthen trade ties and also shore up, I think, solidarity among NATO nations. Speaking today alongside Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk. We have comments from Carney here. Let's bring them up and go straight to that now. Carney.
So we're together working side by side in Ukraine, together side by side in NATO. And if I may say, we learned much from the Prime Minister, from his government, including the importance of pulling our full weight in NATO. And it will take us a few years to reach Polish levels of commitment. It's possible. But it's possible. And we have made that commitment. We will quadruple our spending on defense between now and the end of the decade. And to do that right, to do that properly, we need the best partners in partnership with Poland, in aerospace, in other areas, and in partnership with Europe through that intensified defense partnership. As well, deep relationships that will reconfirm and advance. As again, the Prime Minister mentioned a moment ago, we don't need declarations. On n'a pas besoin de déclarations, il faut avoir d'action. And we have action in this partnership, action on energy from nuclear, SMRs, as was just mentioned, action in renewable energy, action in critical minerals, action in aerospace, and yes, thank you for the partnership between the industry in Quebec and Canadian technology at the heart of Airbus. There's a symbol there. And action people to people. I'll close by observing that this relationship, it is built out of people, more than around a million Canadians of Polish descent. But at its heart are those ties, are those values that the Prime Minister himself has lived and that our two great nations bring together. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you.
Thank you, Donald.
And best regards to
No, I would
minority in
bring you some comments here.
From Wilno. From Wilno, Ontario. You went to, yes, exactly.
Dziękuję bardzo i dziękujemy.
I would show you some of the comments from Tusk today as well, but there was no translation for English on that video, and he spoke in Polish. So not going to be of much use to our English-speaking audience, which is probably just about 99 to 100% of you guys. So I will tell you, though, that Canada, through Carney, and Poland, through Tusk, discussed the shape of a possible post-war peace scenario in Ukraine. This as, of course, European leaders and the Trump administration throw around these ideas about security guarantees for Ukraine. But Tusk says that his country will not send peacekeepers to Ukraine, but will provide logistical support. All this while we're seeing Ukraine take on a much more aggressive forward offensive stance against Russia, certainly over the past probably 4 days. And it coincides with Trump posting on Truth Social about Biden never giving Ukraine the green light to attack Russia inside Russian territory, saying that in that post, you can't win a war when all you can do is defend. And I'm paraphrasing. I'd have to go back and find the post again. One time, his rhetoric changed the very next day. Interesting that on the weekend, again, mentioning that J.D. Vance in that Meet the Press interview said, and I should have commented more robustly on this over the weekend yesterday. He said that all wars, even if you go back to World War II and World War I and all major conflicts throughout human history conclude or end through negotiation. And I pushed back on a lot of what he said, and I should have pushed back stronger on that comment in my editorial comments from yesterday's Meet the Press interview with J.D. Vance, because he's wrong. This is a vice president who really needs to learn a little bit more, maybe a lot more, about history. Because World War II did not end through negotiation. World War II ended because the United States and the Allied nations were victorious against Nazi Germany and Japan. The war itself was pushback against authoritarianism. And in the end, it was overwhelming force, overwhelming capabilities, overwhelming technology that brought the conflict to an end. Because even when Allied nations, the United States in particular, were bombing Japan, the message just didn't seem to resonate within Japan itself. And so in the end, what brought the war to an end? A nuclear weapon. That's what brought Japan to its knees. Now, you can debate one way or the other whether the bomb was actually needed. And what brought Nazi Germany to an end? Military force. That's what brought World War II to a conclusion. Victory of the Allied nations over Nazi Germany and Japan. So it wasn't negotiation. And Donald Trump, again, even today, in the White House again, meeting with leaders from Korea, including the president of the Republic of Korea. But as the public meeting, they're all sitting around in this thing that they do at the White House now with the Trump administration. They're all sitting in the Oval Office, and they have J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio there, and the guests and members of the media all around with Trump on his chair, and the others on the sofa, the love seats. And it didn't take but one question when they threw it to the media to bring everything back to the question of Ukraine and Putin and where we're at with all of the efforts to bring peace through these talks, the Alaska summit, and then the meeting with Zelensky in the White House. And this is what Trump had to say today.
Please.
Mr. President, when you met with Russian President Vladimir Putin, how soon did he say that he wanted to sit down with Ukrainian President Zelensky? Russia, as of now, says there's no meeting on the books and no agenda is set.
Well, that's going to be up to them. It takes two to tango. I always say it. And they should meet, I think, before I have a meeting and probably close the deal. But I think it's appropriate they meet. They do not exactly get along well, as you can understand. And I'm sure it's a meeting that perhaps he didn't like. But he wasn't happy about coming to the United States either. That was a big concession, and I appreciate the fact that he did. I've always had a very good relationship, despite a fake Russia haunt that we had. But we've always had a great relationship, very good relationship, strong relationship with Russia. That's a good thing, not a bad thing, by the way. That's a very good thing. And it's good to get along with Kim Jong-un, and it's good to get along with everybody, including President Lee. It's good to get along, and I get along with the foreign leaders. You see that with the biggest group of foreign leaders that we've ever had. Don't forget the European Union was here also representing a large group of countries just recently. So I believe that we're going to get that war straightened out. We're going to get it done. I don't know that they'll meet. Maybe they will. Maybe they won't. They'd like me to be at the meeting. I said, you guys ought to work it out. It's between you. It's not us. Now, in the meantime, we're not spending any money on, as you know, on Ukraine. We're selling military equipment to NATO. NATO now is taking in, excuse me, NATO now is taking in a large amount of money from the countries. They're taking in 5% of GDP versus 2%. They're paying the 5%. They never paid the 2%, most of them, or a lot of them. NATO has a lot of money. We are selling military equipment to NATO at full price, and NATO's distributing that equipment to wherever they are. I mean, perhaps to Ukraine. So NATO's working with Ukraine. Biden was giving hundreds of billions of dollars, just willy-nilly, just giving money. He had no idea where it was going. It was terrible what was happening. So we're not involved anymore in terms of the cost. We're in for $350 billion. As you know, I also got the rare earth deal done with Ukraine, which was worth much more than the $350 billion. But I'm not interested in the money so much, even though we've done a great job in that regard. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in stopping a war where last week 7,109 soldiers died, both Russian and Ukraine. It's such a waste of life and humanity. They're not from this country. They're not from any other country other than Ukraine, for the most part, other than Ukraine and Russia. But it's a very important thing to me to stop it. I stopped 7 wars that were raging, one for 31 years, the Congo, and as you know, Rwanda, one for 35 years. I don't have to go into them. You know the list better than I do. But we stopped a lot of wars, including, you think about it, India and Pakistan, which was probably 2 weeks away from being a nuclear war. They were shooting down airplanes all over the place. So I'm very proud of that. I thought this would be, in many ways, the easiest way. I have a very good relationship with Putin. I thought it would be the easiest one to stop, and it's really not. It's very complex. It's very personal from their standpoint. There's tremendous dislike personally between the two men, and we're going to have to straighten that out. But I would like to see them meet first. They'd like me to be there. I may be there. I may not. I'll see. But I wanted them to work out their differences first, because it is ultimately between them. And when that happens, I think we'll get an end.
Mr. President, maybe they meet, maybe they don't. How long are you willing to let this play out? And if they don't meet, will there be consequences, and how soon for Russia?
Yeah, there could be very big consequences, but we'll see what happens. There might be very big consequences, because this is something that has to end. This war would have never taken place, and for 4 years it didn't take place. But if I were president, this war would have never taken place. There has not been a war like this since the Second World War. This is the biggest thing that's happened in terms of warfare, wars. It's a whole new form of fighting. It's a drone fighting. It's a drone war. No, a drone war never existed before. And we're actually studying it from the standpoint of Pete Hegseth and everybody. We're studying it and studying it very carefully. This is a whole new form of war, but it's a violent war, and there has been nothing like this since the Second World War. So we'll see what happens over the next week or two, and at that point I'll step in very strongly, and if I have to be there, I'll be there. And we'll either have a deal or we won't. But a lot of people are dying, and I want to get us...
Mr. President, Kim Jong-un wants to meet. When do you want to meet with him?
With who?
You said the North Korean leader wants to meet. How soon would you?
Yeah, we want to have a meeting. I like to have a meeting. I got along great with him. You know, you were there. We even had a press conference. He had his first press conference. Kim Jong-un had a press conference. This was a little different press conference. I said, have you done a press conference before? No. And you know what? He did great. It was a great press conference, actually. It was historic. I doubt he's done one since. But I said, would you like to meet the fake news? Because whatever you want to do. And they came in like you've never seen anything like it. And then he said, enough. And that was the end of the That was the end. It ended very rapidly. But I think he had a good time. I look forward to meeting with Kim Jong-un in the appropriate future.
Mr. President, the United States...
Will you reduce the number of forces in South Korea so that the United States can have more flexibility in the region?
Say it.
Would you consider reducing the number of U.S. forces in South Korea so that the United States can have more
Well, I don't
flexibility
want
in
to
the
say
region?
that now because we've been friends and we're friends. And look, we have a lot of people of that. We have over 40,000 troops in South Korea. As you know, South Korea agreed to pay for that during my last term. And then when Biden came in, they complained to Biden that I wasn't a nice person. And he agreed not to pay. He gave up billions of dollars. We were getting paid billions of dollars. But then Biden ended that for whatever reason. It's unbelievable that he did. But we have a very good relationship militarily. They would say, but we gave you land. I said, no, you didn't. You leased us land. There's a big difference between giving and leasing. And maybe one of the things I'd like to do is ask them to give us ownership of the land where we have the big fort. You know, we spent a lot of money building a fort. And there was a contribution made by South Korea. But I would like to see if we could get rid of the lease and get ownership of the land where we have a massive military base. Okay?
Mr. President, how are you? Thank you, Mr. President. How are you planning to make? I also want to ask this question to Mr. President.
Who are you with?
I'm Song Yujin. I'm from South Korea's Arirang TV.
Good.
Thank you so much. So, as mentioned earlier, the United States is South Korea's most important and closest allies. So, in this point of view, I would like to ask you and also President Lee, what do you think are the key ways to make the South Korea-U.S. alliance greater?
Well, I think it's great now. I feel very warmly toward South Korea. I will tell you that I have a lot of people in business that I deal with that are from South Korea. They love Trump because they feel I've saved. I think you would have had a nuclear war if I weren't. I think you would have had a nuclear war, North Korea and South Korea. I think it would have been a disaster. You're only 60 miles away from Seoul. They don't even need nuclear. They have their cannons, howitzers, and they have them buried in the mountain. You know what I'm talking about. And I think you would have had, if I didn't win that election, if Hillary Clinton, crooked Hillary, won that election, I think you would have had a nuclear war. It would have taken place, and it would have been horrendous for everybody, including them. It would have been very bad for them because we would have had to enter the picture, and we are the most powerful nuclear country in the world by far. Russia's second, China's third. China's going to catch eventually, 5 or 6 years. They're working to catch. One of the things we're trying to do with Russia and with China is denuclearization. And it's very important. One of the things I discussed with President Putin the other day, it wasn't just that, it was also other things. And I think the denuclearization is it's a big aim. But Russia's willing to do it, and I think China's going to be willing to do it too.
Okay, enough. In reality, there is rising tension between North and South Korea. There have even been reports of shots being fired along the border, even within the last few days. So we have a problem there that Donald Trump, I don't think, is fully acknowledging in today's news conference. Let us take a brief pause and return after this.
Maverick News. Fighting for freedom.
Okay, Canada's Minister of Defense, David McGuinty, also in Warsaw, taking questions from reporters today. Let's go there.
A very productive and frankly emotional day in Ukraine. It was quite a
speaking about yesterday's Independence Day
to be present at the 34th anniversary
ceremonies.
of Ukraine's independence. It was remarkable how President Zelensky singled out Canada for its contributions. For example, the first Western country to ever recognize Ukraine's independence. Canada was first off the mark in providing financial support after the invasion of several years ago. And he listed a whole series of other matters that were related to our deep and ongoing relationship. Our Prime Minister made it very clear that the Canadian people remain supportive of the Ukrainian people. They were extremely gracious and thankful for that support. So it was a very productive day, a very important moment to be there, and a great privilege. We had a series of conversations and discussions with the President, with my counterpart, the Minister of Defense, and other officials on different subjects. Donc hier était une journée spéciale, importante, de temps en temps émotionnelle, parce que c'est un moment difficile en Ukraine.
So what you are seeing here in real time is a shift where the United States is becoming less of a leader, more of a supplier of arms for profit at this point. And Canada looking more to Europe and alliances there for the years ahead. And Europe coming to the realization that the United States, not the reliable partner that they maybe believed that they had before. Things are changing, and a lot of concerns about Trump pivoting, shifting more toward increasing alignment with Russia.
So it was a wonderful privilege, and I'd be pleased to take any questions you might have.
How much capacity does Canada really have to send peacekeeping forces into Ukraine after the war? And if not, what's a more realistic role we could play, such as training?
Well, the Prime Minister was clear yesterday about the question of having Canadian forces on the ground. He said that he wouldn't rule it out, and he was speaking in the context of a whole series of possible responses to continue to provide the assistance that we're providing. That could play, for example, or take the role of more intelligence support, more logistical support, equipment, financial support. We were there yesterday to, for example, review the $2 billion of financial aid that we are making available that was announced at the G7 meeting in Kananaskis, or the $2.5 billion to help the government in its operations, its day-to-day operations. So when he was speaking in the context of a whole series of possibilities, and that's very difficult to prejudge. We'll see how this evolves over time, but we are hopeful that peace will come.
Est-ce que ça veut dire que vous travaillez déjà sur des scénarios?
Okay. So we'll pull out of that, and it again, it's on full display here. Most people not paying very close attention. The average person, you guys out there, I think, are certainly more in tune with what is going on in the news day to day to day to day. And I think that you're probably aware that things are definitely shifting in a very serious way. Even Canadians who are concerned about the 51st state rhetoric, the tariffs, all of these frictions between Canada and the US, not really fully understanding, or even understanding in a rudimentary way what is going on politically between the United States, NATO, Europe, Canada, and Russia, and the rest of the world for that matter. But other people, especially over in Europe, I think they are taking note, maybe in a more serious way, especially in places like Germany. This brings me to Felicia from Germany. She is a very popular live streamer, podcaster, YouTuber. She is from Germany, living in the United States. She, I believe, lives in the Cincinnati area right now, but she was born and raised in Munich. And she's, a very bright young lady who recently she surveyed her viewers and fans to find out, in Germany, to find out how they view the United States today. And what she discovered was concerning to many, I think even to her, where because she discovered that a lot of her viewers, a lot of the people from Germany that watch her, view the United States, they see parallels today between what's going on in the United States and what was going on in Nazi Germany just before World War II. Here's Felicia from Germany.
Me, because they knew I lived in the US, so it's an easy topic to bring up, but none of them have ever asked me about my political stance first, because they just assume that we agree anyways. Okay, so we've looked at the numbers, but why is it that so many Germans view the US and the current administration so critically? What are the topics that Germans are unhappy with?
Oh, hang on. She also discovered that, like Canadians, a lot of Germans today are afraid to travel
to the survey that I asked my German followers to fill out for me. Thank you guys so much to everyone who participated. Of course, the survey isn't representative of all Germans, but I think it's a great way to show a few different opinions and takes on this topic. Just a heads up, some of these responses were written in English, but mostly by non-native speakers. Some were written in German and then translated by me, so if the word choice or grammar sounds a little odd here and there, that's why. I'll also add sub-chapters for this part down below so you can see which topics we'll touch on. The first thing that stood out to me was that out of the over 250 responses, many of which consisted of several paragraphs, by the way, a very large number of them included words like worried, fear, frightened, alarming, scary, or unsettling. One person wrote, "I feel uneasy and slightly frightened. Uneasy when I think about the domestic political consequences of polarization within the US population, frightened when I think about the geopolitical implications. Geopolitically, I'm concerned about who is positioning themselves as the new world power and what that means for me in Germany and Europe. In terms of US domestic politics, I fear decades of noticeable negative effects on democracy in the US. Could it lead to civil war? Will the US become similar to The Handmaid's Tale under Peter Thiel and J.D. Vance?" And I think this is one of the most prevalent themes among the responses I received. A lot of people talked about how democracy in the US seems to be under attack. Trump has only been president for 6 months, but the US is already on the path to becoming a totalitarian state. I have serious doubts as to whether there will even be elections in 3 years, and if so, in what conditions. The treatment of tourists and even green card holders at the borders is unimaginable and frightening. Seeing how Trump is silencing the media, how he's openly threatening to revoke the citizenship of US citizens, how research is being brought into line, and above all, how people are being arbitrarily arrested on the street just to meet arrest quotas fills me with great concern. The United States of America is on the path from democracy to an authoritarian state. Project 2025, which I read part of, is being implemented word for word. Many people, especially those who are less well off, and women, will lose their freedoms, and in the worst case, their health and their lives. Welcome to Gilead. Another reference to Handmaid's Tale. A real separation of powers no longer exists. People are being thrown into prison or deported without due process, even when there is a court order against it. Democracy is truly in danger. Freedom of speech is at risk when Trump sues newspapers, when they're excluded from press conferences and publicly shamed by Trump. It's horrible. The problem is that hate speech and normalization of almost fascist rhetoric is now totally acceptable. In a Jubilee interview, one guy was proud to say, "Yes, I am a fascist and I don't care being called a Nazi." And that's all because of Trump's rhetoric. Shocking, terrifying, dumbfounding. And as a German who spent 2 years of history class in school solely on Third Reich and the Second World War, it's also so scarily predictable. The patterns are there. This is actually a topic that a lot of my American followers have been asking me about. Do Germans see any parallels to 1930s Germany? And the answer is yes, many Germans definitely do. In this survey alone, I received dozens of answers that mentioned this. Feels like Germany in the 1930s. Nobody is welcome, only if you have money, and the change is so rapid that most people don't understand what's happening. If anyone is wondering how the Nazis were able to come to power in 1933, observe closely. The state is being turned into a fascist idiocracy, controlling large parts of the media, defaming critics, enriching themselves, and cutting people's health care. And the majority of the population seems to be completely okay with it or doesn't dare to disagree. My dad is over 90 years old and tells me that he hears the same kind of rhetoric now from the White House as he heard from the Nazis as a little boy. I'm sad and terrified. I never thought the US would ever head towards a dictatorship, but here we go. When I was younger, I always dreamed of living in the US, or at least saw the US as the ideal country of wealth and living your dream life. However, now that I'm grown up, it changed to the literal opposite. I definitely don't want to live in the US anymore, or even go there anytime soon. With Trump's election, I see a country drifting further and further in a direction reminiscent of Nazi Germany in the 1930s. Boogeymen are being established, illegal immigrants, and dealt with harshly. Again and again, I see supposed ICE agents brutally arresting people. Thoughts of the Gestapo come to mind. I hope that this madness can still be stopped, but the damage has already been done. Government institutions have been de facto dissolved, important personnel dismissed. Educational institutions are being pressured, and books that are ideologically unacceptable are being banned or removed from classrooms. The US is moving further and further away from its ideal of a free country and, in my eyes, is already an autocracy. Now, disagreeing with the president pretty much makes you an enemy of the state. If you speak up, you get cancelled, like Stephen Colbert, or outright deported to some concentration camp. Of course, this doesn't happen to everyone who fights back, but the fact that it has happened and continues to happen to some shows that it can happen to everyone. That's a very calculated move. It sows fear. The people are to be frightened into silent acceptance of their fate. It's crazy to me that Trump is still in office. In Germany, we're so sensitive when it comes to the behavior of politicians. Just the suspicion that someone may have cheated in their dissertation can end their entire career. Donald Trump has made countless questionable statements, has been involved in legal problems, and has so much contempt for humanity and is so self-aggrandizing that I can hardly comprehend the difference between the two systems. As a historian, what's been happening since January sends a shiver down my spine. Harassment, persecution, and deportation of migrants, control of universities, influence over the media. The end of late-night TV? What the frick? It's reminiscent of 1933. With his statement that journalists who criticize him are, quote, enemies of the people, Trump has clearly shown that he thinks like a fascist. My father, born in Karlsruhe, was a half-Jewish child Holocaust victim in concentration camps. He lost his entire family on his Jewish side. My mother was a Catholic Swabian girl from Augsburg. So many of the things we see in the US happened in Germany in the 1930s. Everything we hear about, I heard from my Oma, my grandma, already. Her Jewish friends disappearing, the local Metzger, Jewish, being taken by people and deported, socialist friends sent to Dachau. My husband is Italian, from Rome, and people in the US always think he's Mexican. He travels everywhere with his US passport so he can show his papers. His late mother always said Trump reminded her of Mussolini. Another topic that many brought up were economic consequences. I'm currently experiencing firsthand how even jobs in the pharmaceutical industry that were always considered crisis-proof are now at risk. Many companies are closing locations in Germany, and I'm personally affected myself. I never particularly liked the US, but I did view it as a solid and important partner. That feeling is now gone. They're blackmailing their closest allies and destroying trust that has been built over a long period of time.
Yeah. So you can see the concern there. That's Felicia, or Feli, from Germany. And she has a very popular YouTube channel. In fact, what I'll do here, because I did use her content tonight, so I am going to give her credit where credit is due and post her link in the chat. Feli from Germany. So here's her channel. If anybody wants to go check her out and her content, she seems very, very bright. I really was not aware of her until just today and came across her content, and I thought, wow, pretty thorough, and she puts a lot of time and effort into her videos. So I thought that was worth sharing. And that's just a snippet from what she produced. So interesting content there. And it harkens back to what we were doing here yesterday. I know that there were a couple of comments made about using or referring to news content within a news program. And I did want to comment on that a little bit tonight because of the state of journalism today and the way the medium is the message. Only that's a Marshall McLuhan cliche at this point. But it has gone beyond that with the way media has evolved today because of social media, because of television. I would say that the medium is the message because the medium dictates to a large degree these days what kind of content people view. Because if it's video driven, then producers of content will look for news stories that relate or make use of video content in order to generate audience. Excuse me. The point that I'm trying to make, that I'm trying to get to here, is I'm going to just leapfrog over some of the other commentary that I could make and just get to this point. Content today has become part of the story, especially on Sundays when you have these news magazine long form journalism programs that run on network television and online. The reason they become part of the story is because the newsmakers, like J.D. Vance yesterday on Meet the Press, they make comments in response to questions that are asked on these very prominent news magazine programs, interview-based. It is a form of journalism, and there is some commentary even that takes place during these programs, but the newsmakers also drive the stories forward. They move the narrative forward, and they make news on those programs. It's not just that programs like Meet the Press or even the news coverage itself, it's not that those programs are just covering the news in those circumstances. It is that they are actually part of the news. I don't know if that the programs themselves are making the news, but they have the newsmakers on, and the news is made in the process of creating the content because it's long form interviews. And when J.D. Vance speaks on Meet the Press, his comments then become headlines on other news programs, and they become part of the news cycle because that reporter has then had exclusive access at that point to a major news maker. And that's why yesterday I spent so much time covering the broadcasts of other news outlets like NBC. And in addition to that, it's also fair to note that live streamers who are out covering news events in real time also can become part of the story. Case in point, yesterday, the Pride Parade in Ottawa, which was shut down by counter protesters who were Queers for Palestine. So you have LGBTQ plus people on this side and LGBTQ plus pride people on the other side clashing over an issue that they've taken opposite sides on, or at least the one side taking a more strong stance on and shutting down the Pride Parade, which included the licensed or permitted parade. The Pride Parade included participants from the Jewish community, which the pro-Palestinian side was opposed to, obviously. And so you've got this clash. And then you have a streamer who's also, in many respects, an activist, Chris Dacey, covering that live and getting into the thick of things as he's right in the middle of the road while the counter protest takes place. And then he sort of injects himself into the scenario, becomes part of the story. And yesterday, I didn't really even need to comment, but I thought that it was definitely fair game to run some of that video because the video itself spoke for itself if you really took a moment to just look at what was going on and reach an obvious conclusion as to what the dynamics were there between someone who was taking the position of a journalist, however you care to define that. And we're going to get into that another night, by the way, in a more in-depth manner. But that live streamer becoming part of the story, injecting himself into the event, live streaming it, that, in my view, became part of the story, not the whole story, part of the story, and was worth showing you, and if not even maybe commenting on, and certainly generating. It was thought-provoking. And I hope that you all found some value in that last night, because that is the nature of the medium. This is social media. This is new form journalism. He's practicing a new form of journalism. Its shape, its form is evolving in response to not just the events that he's covering, but also the way the medium interacts with those events and the way he has to cover it. So that's why yesterday I spent so much time covering what was done on other news programs. And then even yesterday from the University of South Carolina, that sort of false alarm about the gunman, that was also social media in real time in conjunction with online warnings from the authorities in South Carolina warning the public about a possible active shooter, which turned out to be not true. And so there was no actual danger to the public, but man, people were flipping out. And it was a very scary time for a lot of people there. And there was the perception, a broadcast perception of possible danger that raised very real concerns. And those warnings came from authoritative sources, police and emergency agencies in that community. So the medium, in that respect, again, becomes part of the message, or in some cases, even the whole message. But it's even more than that. The news coverage itself drives the stories forward and generates additional headlines, which sometimes warrants additional coverage by other media, including us. I'll be back on the other side.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, defending free speech, Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Off to Alberta we go, where the Premier of Alberta today, Danielle Smith, says she expects the private sector to lead the way on maybe bringing more nuclear power, bringing nuclear power to the province. She is talking about her government setting up a crown corporation if required. And they're talking about these, I guess, modular nuclear power systems. And there's an online survey that's available up until, I think, September 25th regarding all of this. And the Alberta government is reaching out to Indigenous communities to determine the best way to engage them in all of this, because she is absolutely looking at bringing nuclear power into the equation for Alberta in a much larger way. She held a news conference today to discuss this, to talk about it. We have her comments queued up, and we're going to go to Danielle Smith right now.
Province in Canada, and we don't see that slowing down anytime soon.
Alberta's growing faster than all of the provinces,
engine, with huge ambitions for growth and expansion heading into the future. And all this growth means we need more electricity to support it. Currently, the majority of our energy production comes from natural gas, a stable power source. But as our economy expands, particularly in the energy, agriculture, and technology sectors, we need to consider all types of generation technology to power our province. For years, our government has been eyeing nuclear power as just the thing we need to expand our energy capacity. And we're not alone in this. Governments around the world are giving nuclear energy some long overdue consideration. Our own government has signed agreements with Saskatchewan and Ontario to cooperate on developing nuclear energy and supply chains. We're also exploring what's possible with small modular reactors, cutting-edge technology that can be built faster and for lower startup costs than conventional plants. Frankly, there's a lot to like about nuclear. It's efficient, low cost in the long run, and long-lasting. Now, those are points in its favor, but two qualities in particular set nuclear apart from other energy sources. It's almost completely emissions-free, and it's incredibly reliable, producing abundant baseload power 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That means we'd be able to expand our economy with dependable, scalable, non-emitting power, and it's hard to argue with a proposition like that. We see tremendous potential for nuclear to secure Alberta's energy supply for the long term, to fuel our ambitions for our key industries, to help us reach our goal of carbon neutrality by 2050, to share economic benefits with Indigenous communities, and make the most of our resources and technical expertise gained from decades of energy production. We see the potential for nuclear energy to transform Alberta, to provide good jobs and prosperity, and set us on a solid footing for the future. And we want to deliver on that potential. But we also recognize that nuclear energy carries with it a certain amount of baggage from incidents in the past. We know it's a polarizing topic that stirs up emotions, and we want to proceed thoughtfully. We want to give Albertans a say in developing the path forward. We want to know what people think, what opportunities they see, and what concerns they may have. So today I'm happy to announce the creation of a panel that will engage with people across Alberta, including Indigenous communities, industry experts, and other community partners to explore the potential for a nuclear energy industry in Alberta. The panel was appointed by Minister Neudorf, and it will be chaired by Parliamentary Secretary de Jong. Our expert panelists are well respected in government, academia, industry, and Indigenous government. The panel will engage with different stakeholder groups in Alberta, analyze the results of an online survey, and compile a report based on its findings. Our intention is to ensure Albertans have their say as we consider this transformational energy source for our province. The panel's report will inform our approach to a potential nuclear energy industry in Alberta, and I look forward to seeing it. And I'd like to thank every member of the panel for stepping up for this important task. And now I'd also like to...
Okay. So that's the basic bones of what's going to happen there. And I think you will see progress made on that on the Alberta side, and probably in other parts of Canada as well, and certainly in other countries. And if these people who want electric vehicles to move forward are going to get their way at all, the only way, in my view, to make that happen is it's going to require the expansion of the use of nuclear energy, because there's no other way you're ever going to generate enough electricity for all the vehicles that would end up on the road being powered by electricity. Can't do it with wind, can't do it with hydroelectric, can't do it with solar. And with the way the coal being shut down, natural gas just not going to cut it. You need a lot of power, and that means nuclear power plants. So we'll see what the future brings. And these small modular nuclear energy installations, they seem to hold the most promise in that regard. How risky are they? Well, that's open for discussion. What else do we have for you tonight? We have, we're going to get to that real soon. The Snoop Dogg story, because I know everybody wants to hear about it. But John Bolton's still facing some pretty serious scrutiny as the investigation into John Bolton continues and his possible illegal possession of classified documents, and they're making hay with it over on the pro-Trump programs on Fox. Here's Jesse Waters.
This might have nothing to do with classified documents or about classified intelligence that Bolton printed in his book. Trump Justice Insider Mike Davis says Democrats, rhinos, and reporters who think this raid on John Bolton is about his book will be very embarrassed when the search warrant becomes public. Primetime's hearing Bolton was making a lot of money from overseas and may have been trafficking in intelligence. That wouldn't be putting America first. Constitutional scholar Jonathan Turley, who we just heard from, says Bolton could be looking at up to 20 years in prison. So Bolton should take his own advice and take a big, beautiful, deep breath.
I think it's important that everybody take a deep breath here. This is a very serious matter, and it would be better if...
This might have nothing to do with classified documents or about classified intelligence that Bolton printed in his book.
They're recycling the same clip there. There is a quote that comes to mind. Show me the man, I'll show you the crime. That's what's in my head tonight as I listen to that.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
So we still have the tariff issue on the table, but Canada's Trade Minister Dominic LeBlanc is set to meet with U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick in Washington this week. This is supposed to happen, LeBlanc is supposed to leave for Washington tomorrow. And the trip is the latest in several that LeBlanc and the Prime Minister announced Friday that Canada will be dropping some of its, this comes in after Canada announcing that we are dropping, when I say we, Canada, dropping some of its counter tariffs on American goods as part of the response, I guess, to the ongoing backdoor negotiations with the Trump administration and Howard Lutnick. So keep your eyes on that. Interesting today too, just a personal aside, received a phone call from television station over on the US side where my automotive program used to run. And this station on the US side, it was going back, it's got to be 8 to 10 years ago. I haven't been associated with them directly. Through their company larger than that, I was on another station out of Buffalo. But this one was in Detroit, where the program used to run, and very super nice lady. And she's just calling to inquire any interest in coming back. And I just indicated to her that with the way things are, with the tariffs and the state of the economy and relations between Canada and the US and the impact that it has had on the auto industry here in Canada and in the US, frankly, I said, no way we're doing that right now, because I have since shut that program down just recently, as some of you may know. But it also highlighted for me that the changes that we're going through here, the shockwaves from everything that Trump is doing, it's also having negative effects on the US side as well. Because there I received this phone call today from the US side, because they're looking for a pathway back to some better times from the past as well. Not just me, but them too. Not to say that everything is bad, but some things have deteriorated. And certainly on the automotive side, there's been a big shift. And for me, it really kind of goes back to the pandemic. And when I'm looking in the rearview mirror, and then I look at what's in front of me through the windshield, and where we're going as countries and where economies are, and I look at everything, I see in the rearview mirror Donald Trump during the pandemic in a way that I didn't visualize him at the time, with more clarity in my rearview mirror and what happened during the pandemic and the way he responded to it. And then other countries and other governments, including ours, responded. And what I'm seeing through the front windshield now has more clarity, I think, because of what I'm seeing in the rearview mirror and because of the phone call and the conversation that I had with this person from the US side today, gave me a little bit more insight into the mindset over there, the impact that things are having, the Trump administration is having on just everyday American citizens and Canadians. I don't like it. To be honest, I don't like it. It's and I don't think there's really any need for this. But, well, some people seem to think there's a need because they want whatever it is that they seem to want. And I don't think it's a good thing. And it's not good out in Nova Scotia, even tonight, where the wildfire issue still is front and center. We're seeing that we've had more evacuations because the wildfires continue to spread in some areas. The Long Lake wildfire raged out of control over the weekend, damaged more homes in Annapolis Valley, according to officials out there. And Nova Scotia Premier Tim Houston stated earlier today that he has this crushing feeling because of it. He says there's a crushing feeling because of the damage done to so many homes, affecting so many lives out in Nova Scotia with these wildfires. And the Long Lake fire in Annapolis County is now affecting over 7,500 hectares, maybe even pushing over 8,000, somewhere 7,500 to 8,000 hectares of area affected by that wildfire alone. We have a clip from the Premier, and we know that Jeff Evely, not a big fan of Tim Houston because of his ban on walking in many areas that are public land, forest area. But Houston holding firm as the legal challenge.
Yesterday alone, we had 5 new fires. One of those fires in Cumberland County is still listed as out of control and estimated at around 2.5 in size, but we're optimistic that fire we may get that fire under control shortly. So we're cautiously optimistic on that. And then the Long Lake fire, obviously that fire is out of control. So we have 2 out of control fires in the province at the moment right now. The Long Lake fire in Annapolis County took a real turn over the weekend, and it's had devastating impacts. It's now over 7,500 in size, maybe closer to 8,000. Over 230 homes have been evacuated, and there has been some loss of homes. We see it, and we want to do what we can to try to support you, and certainly to try to ease a small portion of the financial stress that comes with the urgency of this situation. So for every household that has been evacuated for 4 to 7 days, the province will provide each adult with $500 and each minor with $200 to help support you through your urgent needs right now. If you've been evacuated for 7 to 15 days, an additional $500 per adult and $200 per minor will be available to you. To get this support, please register with the Red Cross and at www.annapoliscounty.ca.
Tragic. So let's move on to, I think, the story that a lot of you are really waiting for. Oh, man. You want to open a hornet's nest? All you got to do is talk about politics, religion, sexual orientation. Combine all of them, and you've got a powder keg. Well, today, Snoop Dogg making headlines because of, again, and this is back to my point about how social media, the media itself, even online influencers can drive a story forward. So he appeared on Snoop Dogg on this YouTube channel. What was the name of this thing? It's called It's Giving, the It's Giving podcast. He went to the movies with, I guess, one of his kids or his kid. I don't know how many kids Snoop Dogg has. I'm not a big Snoop Dogg fan. I'm sorry, not one of his kids. It was his grandson. That's right. And he went to go see Lightyear, right? So I guess that would be what, a new Disney flick? Buzz Lightyear? Lightyear? Not sure. I'm going to look that up. Maybe I'll go see it and we'll review the film. That would be a good one. Okay. So there it is there. I'm pretty sure I saw a promo for it, a trailer, maybe a month or so ago or 2 months ago. I don't know. Okay, so here's the movie, Lightyear, Pixar flick. Yeah, I'm sorry, Pixar. Toy Story sequel. Lightyear. Looks pretty cool. I like Toy Story. But this movie generating a lot of controversy, and Snoop Dogg, part of that controversy now, because there's a scene in it with a same-sex couple. I guess 2 women who have a baby. So Snoop Dogg on this live stream making news as he's talking about, well, it's media making more media, which is the point, because Snoop Dogg makes comments on this. And this is kind of bizarre too. Here's a guy like a rap star, right? I wouldn't say that rap music wraps itself with traditional values. And yet here's Snoop Dogg doing exactly that in these comments on this program. it's all about traditional values for Snoop Dogg in his senior years. Now that he has a grandson. Interesting comment here. Listen.
I took my grandson to see what was the movie with Buzz Lightyear?
Toy Story?
Not that one, but
the new Buzz. The Lightyear. I think it's called Lightyear.
With Kiki Palmer's in that movie.
Okay.
She plays like the daughter. So we watching it, and the lady, which is Kiki's mama, they move on into the space years. They move down the line. They're like, man, she had a baby with a woman. Well, my grandson in the middle of the movie like, Papa Snoop, how she have a baby with a woman? She a woman. Oh, shit. I didn't come in for this shit. I just came to watch the goddamn movie. Hey, man, watch the movie. They just said she had a baby. They both women. How did she have a baby? Shh. The movie ain't over with. So it's like, it fucked me. I'm scared to go to the movies now. Like, y'all throwing me in the middle of shit that I don't have an answer for.
So, yeah. Now, I know I was criticized yesterday for commenting on what media, commenting on other media and their coverage of stories or the creation of stories because of the media they created. But I'm not the only one who done that. All you got to do is look over here. Where is my post on this? So because Snoop Dogg's on that live stream, which we just carried that one clip, here's the New York Post. And there are a lot of other media outlets reporting on this tonight. Snoop Dogg slams LGBTQ plus community representation in kids' films. They're putting it everywhere, he says. And there he is. So New York Post highlighting this story. Oh, man. And it all ties into the Pride parade in Ottawa yesterday. And then, the Dragon was telling us there was supposed to be a Pride, counter Pride, Brad Pride, anti-Pride protest thing last night that I guess it didn't materialize. There's Snoop with his grandkids, I guess. Snoop Dogg with his grandson. Zion brought us in West Hollywood. That was in 2021. So that youngster is not quite such a youngster anymore, growing up to be a young man at this point. He says, it threw me for a loop. I'm like, what part of the movie was that? These are kids. We have to show that at this age, he said. They're going to ask questions. I don't have the answer. And I thought, well, let's go back over and look a little bit more thoroughly at what went on that program. So I've got the live stream queued up here where Snoop advocates for traditional family values. I don't know. Can anybody tell me? I kind of sort of remember some pretty risque videos, I think, involving Snoop Dogg, especially in his younger years gone past, yesteryear. Well, here he is on the, It's Giving podcast. And he's talking about how also in this video, this interview, about how men are being made more weak right now. And the way that, men should be treating women, and it's all of these questions.
This is like a movie.
It is. My biopic will be out.
We got to check this out. Biopic is coming. I love that. Wow. So how did you get around? Because I really feel like on the internet, like, I think simps are winning. I personally say, like, when people are like, oh, that's corny, that's a simp. I like a simp. I like corny. That means you care. I feel like men are taught to act like, just be savage, in and out, sleep with the girl, smash the girl, and that's really that on that.
No, we all care. It's just some of us don't know how to be public with it. Some of us is private. When you get a man privately, she's doing all of that great stuff you said. But who gonna do it publicly? Who gonna feel good about it?
Right.
Who gonna stand on it and it's a part of their everyday mechanism? That's the difference. Like we get projections off of what people think you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Like if you ask me now, they're really taking the masculinity out of men.
Ooh, please tell me more.
Yeah, I
How?
look at commercials. I look at everything that comes on TV, movies, TV shows, and it's always including some form of having a black man not as strong as he could be.
Mm.
You understand what I'm saying? Like, as a man as strong as he could be, we showing different sides and different elements of the black man, which is cool. But when you pushing this as the front and forgetting that this is always the lead, because without this, we can't reproduce. Hello? We can't continue to bring tribes of generations into this world when this ain't in the front. When this is in the front, I got 10 grandbabies.
Dang.
Because this is the man.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
And my boys, men. And my daughter just brought home a beautiful baby girl.
Okay.
You understand me? So but reproduction, like to be able to say that it started from the man being up front with the woman having babies that had babies that are going to continue to have babies.
Yeah.
Because the man is up front.
That's so good. So do you feel like, I always say on my platform that promiscuity will lower a woman's value. And it sounds like one of the reasons why you chose your wife is because she wasn't giving it up to everybody. She was exclusive. It was hard to get to her. You actually had to be and do certain things in order to win her affinities, essentially, right? Do you feel like that is lost in 2025? Or should women be this liberated, sexually free, open,
Well, you got to think about, you're going to grow old.
Yeah.
You don't want to see all that when you my age? You don't want to look back at all that when you grandma? Grandma, I just seen a movie with you where you was, grandma, I seen a picture with you with, baby, how you get a hold? It's the thing called Google. They know how to find everything. They found a video of you doing this, grandma. So it's all about, how do you want to continue? How do you want to end? And what do you want to be remembered as? Like everything I've done, I'm proud of.
I know that's right. Me too.
No matter what, if you say it's bad, I was proud of it. I did it and I would do it again.
Right. You have no regrets.
None.
Not a single one.
Nope. They always say, well, Snoop, if you could go back and change, if you could, the old Snoop could go back and change, talk to the little Snoop, what would he tell him? Nothing. I tell him, nigga, you fucking it up. Keep going, nigga. You finna get to where I'm at.
I know that's right.
Why would I break the matrix? It's already created. Like, whatever happened that happened was meant to happen. Yeah. I feel like God put his angels through things that he know that they can handle. He's not going to put them on something that they can't fly away to and get to. I feel like I've been given a lot because I'm like the chosen one, a child of God that is protected because of the things that I've been going through and the things that I have to go through to be an example for those who follow.
Yeah. Have you ever felt misunderstood inside of being that unapologetic?
Oh, yeah. A lot of times because I don't explain myself. I ain't really good at that. You know what I'm saying? What's understood don't need to be explained. I feel like what I do is done. And a lot of times people be wanting more than, well, explain yourself or tell me why. Or why did you? I don't have to. I don't answer to you.
Okay, so I feel like in 2025, people have misunderstood what it means to be a wife from a man's perspective. And I'm talking about a wife, whether married or unmarried. What does a wife look like? What is the essence of a wife?
The essence of a wife is to be a version of you, but be herself. And to also be as strong as you and to be weak and to be supportive through anything and all things. Like to show vulnerability, to show that she's a human and to also be able to support her with whatever she's doing and going through. It can't be a one-way street. It's got to be whatever she loves. Like, for example, right? This is the best example of me and my wife. So it was a part of my life where I was infatuated with pimping. Like fully infatuated.
Like real
with,
life pimping.
Like infatuated with it to where I got involved. Like I started hanging with pimps. I started dressing like them. I started going to players' balls. I started because as a kid, that was a superhero to us. Because the pimp had the car, the girls, the money, the slick talk. His hair was right. His clothes was fly. He had everything. So I was infatuated with that. And I was like into it, made movies and all types of stuff for like 3 years straight. And my wife didn't say a word. On my 35th birthday party, she threw me a players ball birthday party and invited all the pimps and all the just supportive. So maybe 2 years ago, my wife decides to buy a strip club and have a male exotic night. Hello. Frequently. So what do? Do I say, what the hell is you doing? I support. I show up. I throw money in the air. You understand what I'm saying? I support. Because she supported me.
Yes.
When I was going through something that I wanted to get off, that I felt like it was fun and it was fly. So this is something that she enjoys. She enjoys having the women and the men dance, and people come to her clubs and they enjoy themselves and they get to have a good time. And it's her world. Like, you would think it's my world because of the music and the things that I've done, but no. And it shocked me that she bought the motherfucker, because I was like, a strip club? Oh, wow, honey. I'll support it.
That's so dope. That's so dope. And I feel like in marriage, and like this is 27 years of marriage. That's the difference. Because these people that have been in relationships for 1 year, 2 year, 3 years are trying to control and possess their partner. It's like, you can only be my partner if. Do you think that unconditional love exists?
It do.
You think so?
I know so.
How?
Okay. Well, I'm going to let him finish that thought, because I know what he says.
If you got grandkids and you a grandfather or grandmother, that's unconditional love. To the highest level. I love my grandbabies. I don't care about nothing but everything that they want and need. You can't say no to me. I give them whatever they mom and daddy won't give them. Well, Papa Nope, they won't let me have any candy. Come here. Sit down and don't say nothing. Go in that bag right there. Now go and sit in the back room. Eat all of it.
Right.
Okay, come on out of there. Put some in your pocket for later, too. Who did you get it from? You? No, wait a minute. Who you get it from? Nobody. Okay, now go on home.
That is
Unconditional love. So, yeah, I don't know. Snoop Dogg talking about, well, on the one hand, traditional values, and he's not using that phrase. I'm using that phrase. But I don't know, mixed messaging. It's complicated. Let's put it that way. I just wish we could get back sometimes to simpler times, but simpler times for maybe me and maybe you might have been challenging times, rough times for other people who maybe had to hide in a closet, maybe even deny who they are, maybe live a lie. Even in 2025, I can tell you that there are people among us in our community right here who continue to live that lie. I know that because they are among us. Some of them that I know of are my friends. And even in 2025, and certainly in our community, they are afraid to tell you who they really are. That in itself, to me, is a very tragic thing. And it connects to some of what I talk about here every night, which is that I am committed to the truth. And so in that way, I do wish that we could all live a life of truth, a life that doesn't require us, maybe even self-inflicted, but doesn't require us to live a lie in order to conform or to avoid being judged. If you have to live like that, and thank God I don't, but if you had to live like that, I think it would I'm sure that it does literally drive people a little bit crazy. That being said, go make babies. We need them. We need more of those. Elon Musk says so because population collapse, he says, is the real danger, not overpopulation. And you know the best way to do that? Go see a movie. I think I'll go see Lightyear. And then maybe we'll review that film on the program. And I'll give you my assessment of that. Maybe we'll get Joseph Leonard back on to talk about that. He's a very Christian kind of guy. We'll get maybe his view on that from a Christian perspective, and that scene in particular, and those two characters, the same-sex couple. Maybe get his thoughts on that, and then you guys can maybe weigh in the chat, and maybe in a call-in program where we take it to the next level, and then maybe we'll make headlines and drive the story forward. But before you can do any of that, you really got to go out on a date and engage in a little romance. And one thing leads to another, and the next thing you know, you got grandbabies. This is a song that I played for you just a while back, my wedding anniversary with my wife. And what did we do? We went to a movie. And this is one of my favorite songs that ever so far from Maverick and the News Brothers. And I'm going to leave it here tonight with this. My wife kissed me on our first date. I didn't kiss her because I needed her to give me permission. She stood up on the step when I took her home from the movies, and she grabbed a hold of me and laid one right on me. And the rest, 40 years on, is history. All she had to do is open the door. See you tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern.
Out with a nervous grin.
On the flip side.
Heart pounding like a storm rolling in. She said yes with a spark in her eyes. And he dreamed of her neath moonlit skies. They shared a movie, popcorn, and a glass. Her laugh lit his world like a slow, sweet dance. At her mama's porch, his heart wished to soar. But the kiss he craved, he couldn't explore. She stood on the stairs, opened the door, pulled him close, gave him something more. Her lips met his in the soft twilight, and love was born 'neath the stars that night. 40 years on, when the fire feels thin, she can still reach the heart within. Just stand on the stairs, open the door, and let love in like she did before. The years flew fast, kids grown and gone. Just them now with the quiet of dawn. She misses his touch, the fire in his gaze. The warmth is faded in life's busy maze. They tried a new date, the same old show. Popcorn and laughter, letting love grow at their own front door in the evening's glow. She searches for courage she used to know. She stood on the stairs, opened the door, pulled him close like she did before. Her lips met his, no need to pretend. Their love's a flame that won't ever end. 40 years on, the spark's still there. If she reaches out, if she dares to care, just stand on the stairs, open the door, and let love in forevermore. It's hard yet simple, this task at hand, to stir the flame in her gentle man. No words are needed, no perfect plan, just one kiss to show she still can. She takes his hand like that night long ago, steps up on the stair, lets her feelings show. With a gentle smile, she pulls him near, kisses him soft, wipes away the years. The past comes alive, their love's still true. The fires rekindled like the night they knew. She opened the door like she did back then and found her forever, her gentleman. She stood on the stairs, opened the door, pulled him close like never before. Her lips met his 'neath starlit skies, and love came back with no disguise. 40 years on, she's found it again, the key to the soul of her truest flame. Just stand on the stairs, open the door, and let love in like she did before. Oh, stand on the stairs, open the door, let love in forevermore.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.